Hi guys, and welcome to the second video in our series, and this one is all about sports psychology and performance. So we saw this slide earlier in a different format, but these are all of the different areas where a sports psychologist can help you. So some you may be a bit more aware of, say confidence, anxiety, motivation, and some that may be a little bit newer to you in terms of resilience and skill acquisition, maybe mental toughness. These are all areas that a sports psychologist can help you. So how often do you guys hear, he doesn't look confident standing over this putt? Or the kicker's concentration levels are exceptional? Or she deals with pressure excellently in these match point situations? Or the goalkeeper's decision making was poor today? So what do these all have in common? If you outline them like this, you'll see that these are all psychological factors. So we have confidence, we have concentration, we have dealing with pressure, and we have decision making. These will be mentioned by commentators all of the time, all pundits, they will talk about these aspects all of the time, but they will very rarely explain them further or sort of let the viewer understand how players or performers can actually increase these psychological factors. So if we move these over to the left and then bring in our slide from earlier. So on the left, we have all of these different sports psychology concepts that are spoken about through commentary or so. And then on the right, we have all of these different areas of sports psychology that a sports psychologist can enhance within you. And if we look to link these up, we can see that on the left, lots of these sort of quotes that we see a lot all sort of line up with sports psychology. So we can see confidence, concentration, dealing with pressure and decision making, all in the sports psychologist overview down on the right hand side. So like I say, all of these things are mentioned so commonly, but very rarely is there anyone who actually knows how to improve these areas or how to sort of manage these areas better, and that's exactly what a sports psychologist is there to do. So how do these actually relate to me? Well, if we focus on the top four here, which is confidence, anxiety, motivation, and concentration, and see in regards to confidence, so we have some low confidence examples here across some of your different sports. So in golf, it might be walking up to the first tee expecting to make a poor shot. I'm sure we've all been there before. We've had some poor shots in prior holes. You walk up to the next one just not expecting it to go well, and that is an example of having low confidence in that situation. In rugby, it can be a hesitance to receive the ball in the centre of the pitch. Ultimately, we don't know if we are going to be able to deal with it, and in rugby there's quite a large consequence to any kind of hesitation. And then in hockey, we can have not believing your score when 1v1 with the goalkeeper. So these are some low confidence examples across some different sports. Some you may relate to and understand in your own game. On the flip side, we have some high confidence examples here. So in golf this time, it can be walking up to the first tee knowing that you're going to hit the ball perfectly. In rugby, it can be demanding to receive the ball in the centre of the pitch because you know how to deal with it. You believe in your abilities. And then going back to hockey, it can be just believing that you're definitely going to score when 1v1 with the goalkeeper. And these will all affect your performance. Having higher confidence is all really nicely suited with better performance. In all of my presentations, whether you decide to take sports psychology further or not, I feel as though you should get something out of them and understand sports psychology further. So I like to have a quick tip for each of these different factors in sports psychology. So if you're someone who's maybe lacking a bit of confidence today, you've got training, you've got a game, you're just going through your general life, this could be really useful for you. And it is just acting confident. Think of who you admire, who you look up to, someone that exudes confidence in a really noticeable way. And just see if you can mimic and copy what they are doing. So often this is standing up straight, relaxed shoulders, your head is up, you're making good eye contact. These are all really useful techniques, and it is that kind of fake it till you make it short-term intervention. This is acting like who you want to be, and this can give you a little confidence boost. Even if you don't feel too confident, showing off your confidence, acting how you think a confident person would act, can be really effective in just giving you a really quick confidence boost. So I recommend you try this one today. There's absolutely nothing to lose from trying it. And if we look at anxiety, this happens all of the time. I'm sure in whatever walk of life you're in, you will experience higher levels of anxiety at some point. And often in our body, we feel this as sweaty palms. Our heart rate can become erratic, and we can feel butterflies in our stomach. But a lot more people sort of associate anxiety in their mind, which can be negative thoughts or excessive worrying. And like it says here, often these can be before the game has even happened, or it can be during the game itself, and this just holds you back from having your best performance. On the flip side, we have these lower anxiety levels. I like to say lower because you want them in that optimal state. I don't want to send you guys out there with really low anxiety levels, because then your performance will decrease because we're less alert, we're too relaxed, we're not on the ball enough. So it's all about getting it in that optimal zone. But when we do have it in that optimal zone, in our body, we feel as though our muscles are more relaxed, our heart rate is more stable, and we exude that confident body language that we spoke about earlier. In our mind, we are more confident, we're thinking better, we're thinking more positively, we're more relaxed, our decision making is better, our concentration is better because we're focusing on the game only and not what is going on in our minds. And ultimately, we enjoy it more because we're not battling anxiety as we try to go about performing. So my quick tip here is just to breathe. 3 to 5, maybe to 10 big deep breaths. In through your nose, let your stomach expand and come up, and then really slowly breathe it all out. 3 to 5 times, there's no rush, take as long as you need, and you will feel that heart rate begin to drop. Your body will begin to relax. It really is just as simple as this. Just breathe your way through it. And again, this can happen in your day-to-day life. If you're awake tonight and you're feeling a bit restless before you sleep, maybe you feel your heart actually pounding a little bit too much, you can breathe your way through it and just bring that anxiety down a little bit and slowly feel a little bit more control in your body. It's a really good one to try. Motivation. This is a really important one for you guys because you're going to have heavy academic schedules as well as sporting commitments. There is likely going to be time during your journey that you do feel a drop in motivation, and working with a sports psychologist can, one, help you get out ahead of that if you come to us early enough, or if you're experiencing lower motivation, then you can come to a sports psychologist and we can help try and bring that motivation back to a more stable place that will be better for you over the longer duration. So we have some low motivation examples here, which can be being uninterested in training in games or competitions. It can be lacking energy, ambitious and focus. It can be having lower moods, poor punctuality to the point where we don't even turn up. It could be feeling lost and questioning ourselves altogether. And ultimately, it can end up in dropping out of sport, which is obviously something that we want to avoid at all costs. So these are all areas that we may experience, but we just don't want to let it go too far. So on the flip side here, we have some higher motivation examples, and these are all sort of characteristics that a sports psychologist can hopefully bring out of you. So it can be that we're excited for our training, games and competitions again. You guys devote so much time towards your training and your sort of weekly schedules that you want to be excited for what you're doing. You want to enjoy what you're doing again. So sort of increasing that motivation is really important for you guys. Through high motivation, our energy is often a lot higher. We're ambitious, we're determined, and we're focused in day-to-day life as well as on the field. Our moods are better, they're more stable over the long term too. When our sort of motivation is its highest, we feel greater levels of satisfaction and confidence when playing, and ultimately our performance is also better, which is really important. So my tip for this one is sort of bringing it back to the start and resetting and asking yourself, why did I start in the first place? I'm sure, sport at times sometimes feels like it's a bit of a job and it's a bit militarized, that you have to be there at this time on this day without fail, 5, 6, 7 days a week, whatever it is. And it can often take us away from why we sort of fell in love in the first place. So my tip is just to reflect, bring yourself back to that sort of first involvement in your sport. What was it that made you love and want to go back the next time? Maybe it was, playing with friends and just feeling enjoyment through playing sport, or maybe it's achieving the best possible performances that you can do. Whatever it is, sort of bring it back to the beginning and just ask yourself, why did I start? And this is really good at locking into the sort of internal motivation that comes from your heart about why you love something in the first place. It's nothing to do with the external factors such as status or sort of just being in the routine of playing. It sort of brings you back to why you fell in love in the first place. So I really recommend you guys try this one out today. And then the last little area here to focus on is actually concentration. So we have some low concentration examples across some sports again. So in basketball, it could be ball watching and losing your marker, which ultimately could end very poorly. In track, it could be that we're unfocused whilst on the blocks and then we don't get the start we need to do well in the race. Or it can be in tennis, thinking about what happens next instead of the shot at hand. On the flip side, some high concentration examples here. So in basketball, it can be being aware of where the ball, opposition and teammates are to then move the ball as effectively as possible. In track, it can be fully focused and prepared for the trigger. That'll give us the best start in the race possible, which, when you're talking about shorter distances, is really important that we optimize every part of that race. And then going back to tennis, it can be solely focusing on executing the current shot. Not thinking about what's next after this shot, not thinking about what we've done in previous shots, is solely focusing on the shot at hand. And my tip here is to use a trigger word such as ready. Anything that brings you back to reality, anything that makes you feel your feet on the ground, feel the venue around you, the air, the noise, anything that brings you back to the current reality. And I find that trigger words are useful. Be one word, anything that sort of resonates with you. Mention it in your head, verbally out loud. Anything that sort of brings you back to reality can be really useful. So here's my overview of those tips. Like I say, these are by no means long-term interventions that a sports psychologist would necessarily suggest using over a longer period of time. But just for the sake of you guys watching the presentation, you may as well get something out of it and some short-term sort of techniques to just improve these areas. These can be really helpful. So for confidence, it can be acting confidence, standing confident, sort of mimicking a confident person. For anxiety, breathing 3 to 5 more deep breaths, bring that heart rate down a little bit. Motivation, having that sort of reset and asking yourself, why did I start in the first place? And then concentration, using a trigger word such as ready. And like it says at the bottom here, these can be used on or off the pitch. They'll be useful for you no matter what you are doing.